The abundance of performance motoring acronyms in existence almost reads like the long list of political parties we encountered in the 2019 general election.
Indeed, they are the simple standalone letters TRSM. Then you get into more intermediate combinations GT, RS, AMG, QV.
Now, the subject of our evaluation this week bears an insignia that virtually every South African motoring enthusiast holds in high regard. Ladies and gentlemen, a hearty round of applause as we herald in a sight not seen for many years, an Opel with a GSI badge. But before we look at this new GSI, it is only appropriate that we glance back at one of the models that made the nameplate so famous.
Grand Sport Injection, that is what the title denoted. And for Opel in the 1980s and 1990s, the moniker adorned the products with a more spirited constitution. And for most of us at the bottom tip of the continent, the mention of the three letters would conjure up imagery of one very special nameplate, the beloved Cadet. Particularly the GSI badged versions of the Cadet E, with a curious assortment of affectionate nicknames seemingly inspired by corporate hierarchy: Baby Boss, Boss, Big Boss, and Super Boss.
As you know, it was a real menace both on the street and on track, where men like Mike Briggs and Grant McCleary held court with rivals in the BMW 325 IS. The fierce rivalry that transpired on the circuit could have inspired a full-length motion picture and all but immortalized the fearsome reputation of the GSI. Then in 1997, the Opel Performance Center, OPC, was established as a skunkworks in which a more formalized approach towards developing the faster stuff was established. So the GSI moniker accepted a demotion in terms of what it once stood for.
In 1999, we received the Corsa B GSI. The tag appeared on the Astra G of 2003 and the Corsa C of 2004, as well as the follow-up D Generation 2. But then it took a break in 2012, and now, 7 years later, here we are with the Corsa E GSI.
It has the same engine as the 5-door 1.4 Sport model, which was recently axed from the local lineup, ostensibly to give this GSI a better chance at success. It has the same output at 110 kilowatts and 220 Newton meters of torque.
Naturally, the two-door body format does well to enforce sporting pretenses. But it also gains an exterior package with a more sculpted bonnet, a honeycomb grille, and side mirrors finished in 4 carbon fiber. At the rear, a roof spoiler promises additional downforce. Its single chrome tailpipe, meanwhile, is framed by a new rear apron.
It borrows bits from the mightier Corsa OPC, which is not sold in our market, including 18-inch lightweight alloy wheels, as well as brakes and suspension that were purportedly honed on the Nürburgring. The suspension is hard to the point of discomfort. And before you chime in and say, well, it was intended to be sporty, there are many cars out there that manage that balance between pliant and firm quite well. Shake your teeth out levels of rigidity do not necessarily translate into an athletic and agile character.
Maybe these trade-offs would be more palatable if there was more fizz in the engine bay. You are enduring all of this for a 0 to 100 km/h sprint time of 8.9 seconds. And that is if you can adequately master the recalcitrant shifter, especially with its notchy first to second action. Admittedly, on the right surface and with the right road layout, the OPC-derived chassis does bring more than an inkling of amusement to things. Which makes me wonder, how much exhilaration would we be enjoying right now if we had the full cream Corsa OPC model? At the price, which we will get to, this strikes me as a nearly there car, not quite the whole deal.
It fills me with a similar disappointment I felt as an 8-year-old when I went to Gold Reef City for the first time, only to learn that you needed to be this tall in order to enjoy the rides. At 365,900 Rand, it is a tough sell, especially when you consider that there is still a plentiful supply of nearly new 1.4 sport models on the second-hand market, offering a saving of up to 100,000 Rand in some examples compared to this. Go out and buy one of those and use the change to find one of the originals that wore the GSI label best.